What's going on, guys, and welcome back to another episode of the German Bear Podcast. And in today's film room episode, we want to take a look at the newest Chicago Bear and edge rusher Yannick Ngakoue. The Chicago Bears and GM Ryan Poles really built up a nice defensive line so far in 2023 through the draft and also free agency, but one missing piece was definitely an experienced edge rusher that can get to the quarterback. And well, I guess the Chicago Bears found him. With Yannick Ngakoue, the Chicago Bears got a pass rush specialist that is really a great complement to the great run defense additions that the Bears made so far on the defensive line with DeMarcus Walker as well as Andrew Billings. I feel like they really did a great job of adding talent to the D-line that can provide really much great run defense, but pass rush was still a thing that was pretty much lacking on the opposite side of actually DeMarcus Walker. So with Yannick Ngakoue, the Bears really solved that problem, and today we want to find out how he's going to play for the Chicago Bears, what does he do well, and how he will be used in Matt Eberflus's and Alan Williams' defense. But before we actually want to go into that, we want to start off with the contract details real quick. He got a 1-year, $10.5 million contract and $10 million of that guaranteed. And for us, for the Chicago Bears, they got the money. I love that deal. It's a great value deal for him, for a guy that will get to the quarterback no matter where he plays. We'll talk about that in a second. But for me, it's a very low risk, high reward kind of a scenario. If Yannick Ngakoue improves as a run defender, maybe you can sign him to a more long-term deal. But right now, 1-year deal, very low risk, and maybe the Bears look into adding a pass rusher next year with the draft. So I really feel like that's a win-win situation for the Bears nonetheless, and the Bears defense gets another helpful edge rusher to the rotation. And now we want to look at himself and the stats that he had in 2022. Yannick Ngakoue is a 6'2", 246-pound defensive end that's 28 years old, so still a pretty young player in my opinion. He was drafted in the 2016 NFL draft in the 3rd round by the Jacksonville Jaguars and had a really successful NFL career so far. For 2020, his stats, he played 73% of the Colts defensive snaps overall, played in 15 games, started all 15 of those, had 29 combined tackles, 9.5 sacks, 8 TFLs, and 16 quarterback hits, as well as 1 forced fumble. As for his advanced stats, he also had 10 quarterback hurries, 5 QB knockdowns, and 27 pressures overall for 2022. And what's so great about him, I feel like most people know about that with Yannick Ngakoue, is that he never had under 8 sacks in an NFL season, which is absolutely crazy because he already played for the Jacksonville Jaguars, the Minnesota Vikings, and the Baltimore Ravens, even those two teams in the same season in 2020, then for the Las Vegas Raiders, and now for the Indianapolis Colts in 2020, and now for the Chicago Bears, obviously, but he never went under 8 sacks. The biggest problem was always his run defense. We'll talk about that later on in the film room too, but he's a very productive edge rusher, and that's what the Bears are getting with him right here. So hopefully that production translates to the Chicago Bears defensive line as well. And now we want to start off with the actual film room and want to take a look at his best ability, which is his pass rush ability next. And when we talk about Yannick Ngakoue, the first thing that has to pop off of your mind is pass rush and getting to the quarterback. What he does so well as a pass rusher, watching his tape, really his explosiveness is exceptional. He comes off of the ball so quickly and he can close so quickly to the quarterback. It's actually crazy. His hand placement is really, really good too. And also how he just sets up his rushes is pretty good too. We will want to look at that in a second as well. And then just his pass rush repertoire, right? He's not a rusher that only wins with a bull rush or with a swim move or whatever. He's a guy that will win with many different ways. That's very important. That's why he is so successful as a rusher, actually. And then just his bend is exceptional too. And then lastly, his effort. We'll see it on tape too. He never gives up on a play, always hustling, always trying to get something done. So perfectly fits Matt Eberflus in that aspect once again. As we get into the plays, one play against the Tennessee Titans where we kind of see his pass rush repertoire develop over the next couple of plays that we want to look at. But the play against the Titans, where he really showed quickness, change of direction, and great hand placement. Love his hands on that play specifically. He sets up the rush well, attacks with speed, and then has very quick hands. He swipes away the punch from the offensive tackle really quickly, and then just a great core strength too to generate that power with his left arm, and then just perfect execution on that rush to get to the quarterback. Really big play right there by Yannick Ngakoue. Then another example against the Minnesota Vikings, where he did not actually win with just his hands right there, but with somewhat of a hop swipe move, right? Very great vertical stem on that play, generates power through his speed on that play too, and then just like I said, very Robert Quinn-like, does a hop swipe move on that play, very good bend too, and then just finishes the sack within 2.5 seconds, which is absolutely perfect because I don't know what the average time to throw is, but he gets to the quarterback quickly, finishes off that play against the Vikings, against Kirk Cousins. So big play right there by him once again. And then another move that he used was speed to power against the Pittsburgh Steelers. He had one great rep, absolutely love this play, where he sets up the rush well again, very vertically attacks the tackle, and then sees the chest of the tackle actually exposed, and then uses all the momentum that he's got, throws a good punch with his left hand, and then just drives back the tackle for a sack against Kenny Pickett. Another really great example of him mixing it up, throwing in another counter punch that he can bring to an offensive tackle. So absolutely love it. And then one example again against the Tennessee Titans, where he really showed some good bend, really has a great get off on that play, and another hop swipe move, just like Robert Quinn did so often. Really love what he does with that move too. And then just really phenomenal hand placement on that play. The offensive tackle tries to punch. Ngakoue times it perfectly, knocks down the punch, and almost is in for a sack, but at least gets a hit on Ryan Tannehill, which is always great too for a defensive lineman, letting the quarterback know that you are always in striking distance. And then lastly, for his pass rush ability, what really struck out too, as I mentioned earlier, was his effort too. One play against Denver where he doesn't win with his initial rush, but keeps working, keeps his feet moving, and then gets in there for a shared sack. So that is really something that he did a couple of times, right? Not all of his rushes were immediate wins where he got in there really quickly, but he always tries to keep his feet moving, hits principle, right? Matt Eberflus always hustling, always giving 100%, and that's one aspect where it really fits into that defense, and I'm excited to see that play out. And now we've actually seen what he can add as a pass rusher to a defense, and that will be his main assignment 100%. But what if he actually is in on an early down? Will he actually survive? So that's why we now want to move on and look at his run defense. And for Yannick Ngakoue's run defense, I mean, there is some things that he could definitely be or do better on certain plays. For his run defense, his biggest problems are that he doesn't set the edge properly. He gets dominated at the line by offensive tackles a lot, and also he tends to really overset and loses contain. And one thing that struck me on tape too was that he gets too vertical at times against opposing offenses against the run. Like when he wants to rush the passer and it's an obvious rush down, that's fine, but at times that really opens up huge gaps for opposing offenses. And one example against the Chargers really showed that, where Austin Eckler actually scored on that play. But now we want to focus on what he actually does do well against the run, and overall we could say that he is, as a run defender, really, really good from the backside. I love his explosiveness and just the way that he can read options on defense. So from the backside, he's actually a pretty good run defender. He will get in there fast and close in quickly with backside pursuit. So that was what he really did well against the run. And also at times, he really showed some good strength at the point of attack, where he somewhat anchored, held on against the offensive lineman, and also played really well the gap, right? His gap reads and his gap understanding is definitely not bad. He played some really clean reps where he stayed within the lane, played the run, played the flow of the run, and then just shed it off the block in the last second and got a great tackle. We'll look at that in a second too. But as we get into the play, some positives against the Chargers, where he really showed his power on that one, has a great get off and wins this rep really with his get off and explosiveness off the line. He also plays it really patient on that play too, and then just fights through a double team somewhat, right? Quick double team with tight end and tackle, and then just makes a tough tackle against Austin Eckler. So that was a great play by him. Love to see that. And then another example for his good strength against offensive linemen at times was against the Pittsburgh Steelers, where he once again showed strength against the offensive tackle, placed the gap well, once again, very patient, flows with the run, and then a really good shed to make a tackle on the running back. So there's times where he actually can get that done, but at times there's also very poor plays where he just gets moved easily by the offensive lineman and gets taken out of the play immediately. And then just for his backside run defense, which I pointed out as a pro too, against the Eagles, a great example where the Eagles play a inside zone read option play, and right there Yannick Ngakoue plays it perfectly, reads Jalen Hurts, crashes in on the running back, and then just has a big tackle for loss, I think against Miles Sanders. So that's a big play. That's why I say he's really good as a backside run defender. And then one more example against the Tennessee Titans against Derrick Henry, where they played a outside zone away from Yannick Ngakoue, and on that play he just shows his speed and explosiveness is really evident once again, and then just a very athletic diving tackle too to stop Derrick Henry, who's obviously not easy to take down, but love how he plays it from the backside. He's really explosive, fast, does good reads on read option. That's really promising stuff. So overall, he is not a particularly great run defender, but he does do some things well, and that's really exciting for his time in Chicago nonetheless. As for the conclusion, now we want to take a look at how is he actually going to be used for the Chicago Bears defense and how productive will he be. And for me, it's pretty simple how he is going to be used in the Bears defense's system. On early downs, he will probably be on the sideline. That's why we signed DeMarcus Walker, Andrew Billings, Rasheem Green, and also drafted Jervin Dexter, right? Those are the guys that you have to put in to stop the run. Those guys are specialized in that or are really good at it at least. And then on second, third, and long, he will be the guy that will come in and absolutely feast all day long against offensive tackles or whatever defensive lineman that is. And one nasty formation for the Chicago Bears that I could just imagine right now is that we put DeMarcus Walker, who's going to play edge on early down, inside as a 4-eye, and then Yannick Ngakoue is coming into play as well on the same side as DeMarcus Walker, and those two guys will just rush the passer. DeMarcus Walker with his nasty swim move, Yannick Ngakoue with speed to power or hop swipe move, or just overall his bend outside of the edge. So that's going to be really exciting, and they will give hell to opposing quarterbacks. It's going to be great. And overall, how he's going to perform in the Bears defense, I think he's going to be really productive, because if you take him out on those early downs, he's always going to have fresh legs and can rush the passer with all the power that he's got. So that's really exciting for me. So overall, for the signing of Yannick Ngakoue and the Chicago Bears, I feel like it's a perfect fit for Matt Eberflus's defense. He's a player that's going to add a whole lot as a pass rusher, and it's going to be a very, very great season for him in my opinion, or I hope at least he's going to have a great season for the Chicago Bears. But nonetheless, I love Ryan Poles for that move. I wanted Yannick Ngakoue to be a Chicago Bears for a couple of months now, just like a lot of other people too. And it's going to be exciting to see Yannick Ngakoue rush the passer for the Chicago Bears. It's a great addition. It's going to make the defense better. It's not 100% set yet. That's not what I'm saying, but it's going to make everybody around him better. And it's a great addition. Really early on in training camp, he got the chance to also learn the playbook now too, and I can't wait and see for Yannick Ngakoue to go hunt quarterbacks for Chicago moving forward. And with that being said, that's the end of the episode, guys. I hope you've enjoyed it. Definitely let me know in the comments down below what you think of the signing of Yannick Ngakoue with the Chicago Bears. Like and subscribe if you liked the video. Check out Instagram and Twitter if you want to as well. And as always, guys, bear down.